What's up? What's happening? Welcome here to Lacrosse Now. I'm your host, Travis Selgers. Got three terrific guests to get to here this week on the show. Just like the PLL after the championship, we took a week off, and now we're back, and we are back in full force. We're joined by Atlas goalie, former Hofstra goalie Jack Concannon. He takes us through this past Atlas season for him. Obviously, they had a pretty good regular season, not able to get it done quite like they would have hoped in the playoffs, but he talks about that, his career to date, what it was like confidence-wise for him to kind of grow into himself as a goalie at Hofstra and then go on to play at the professional level. Great conversation with him. We then do a little fall ball check-in. Speaking of the CAA, we check in with the reigning CAA men's lacrosse champions, Coach Ben Deluca of Delaware, joining us. We talk about all they have coming back, trying to build off the momentum of not only a CAA championship from last year, but also that upset over Georgetown in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So we talk about that with Coach Ben Deluca. And then getting ready for a lacrosse event you can see here this weekend on LSN, World Lacrosse, the Super Sixes event up in Canada, taking place. The Canadian women's national team for sixes, joined by the Haudenosaunee and Team England for a great round-robin event. We'll also crown a champion at the end. 3 days of lacrosse on LSN starting on Friday night. You got games Friday night, Saturday in the morning, and then early afternoon, and then Sunday as well. A big weekend in lacrosse, and to talk about it, we'll have Team Canada's head coach for that event, Sean Williams, obviously also the coach of the NLL's new Las Vegas team, the Desert Dogs, who are getting ready for their first season of play. So we'll talk a little Desert Dogs at the end with Sean Williams as well. So plenty to get to on this week's Lacrosse Now. We'll start with former Hofstra goalie, current Atlas goalie, Jack Concannon, joining us now.
This segment of Lacrosse Now is brought to you by Watch Dingo.
We've got Atlas goalie, Jack Concannon, joining us now. Jack, you're coming off, obviously, a PLL season, but also an opportunity here in the last week or so to compete with Team USA in a tryout as the team gets ready for this next World Championship run. Where's your game at with where you're at now, a handful of years into your professional career, now having a chance on the international stage with Team USA?
Yeah, I feel like once you get a few years under your belt, your role kind of, transitions. You got younger guys underneath you now, so you're not necessarily a rookie, but you're not necessarily a vet either, so you're kind of at that middle ground. But I think, at this point, you kind of start to take over, especially as a goalie, some sort of a leadership role, right? You should feel comfortable. I've been playing with the guys on Atlas for a few years now, and we still have that, a good core group. So, we're super close. We preach that a lot on the Atlas squad, off the field, tight-knit group. And I think, that's really the main area that we've been focusing on. And again, with USA, just looking forward to competing. Whenever you have that flag on your chest, it just means a little bit extra.
What does it mean for you just to have the opportunity to compete for a spot on that team? That is an honor in itself. On top of having, you make it, that's something completely different. But just having the opportunity to compete, knowing that in this country, who's the best country in the sport in the world, you have a chance to be one of the top two goalies that represents the Team USA.
Yeah, honestly, it means everything. Team USA is something that, you look at from an early age, and it's really the peak of lacrosse. It's the highest level of lacrosse that you can attain. So just to have the opportunity to be there and to be invited, it means everything. Obviously, you want to make the most of the opportunity. And that's kind of, you kind of want to preach just live in the moment, right? Take it one day at a time, and hopefully, it all works out.
We mentioned being a handful of years into your pro career. It's so different than when you're in high school or college. Like, lacrosse is, part of your everyday life. Now it's not for you. Like, there's other responsibilities, things you got going on. And especially for a goalie, I feel like it has to be so difficult sometimes because it's such like a feel thing in terms of staying sharp and seeing shots. How have you found the ability to continue to improve and get better, even though it's probably a little bit more of a chore to see shots now for you than it was when you're in high school or college?
Yeah, I've kind of, stuck to and kind of figured out the routine that works best for me. I would say I'm a pretty regimented person. So Monday through Friday, I typically do the same thing. I kind of, structured between my work schedule, working out and seeing shots. I kind of have it all figured out at this point. It's been a few years since I graduated. So again, find the schedule that works for you. I think that's super important. Time management, obviously, once you're working full time. But yeah, that's kind of what I've done. Kind of just structured a schedule and just kind of stick to it.
Yeah, and for anybody who's in the professional world, that they know, like, sticking to a structured schedule can't always be easy, but when you can do it, it works, and it's worked for you. This Atlas season, how would you describe how things went and how they finished?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not the ending that we had, hoped and worked towards the entire season. But I do think as a team, we took a step in the right direction. I think the future's bright for us. Interested to see, what additions we make. We have some great picks in the upcoming draft. So I think we're in a great spot. Again, I think there's room to grow, but I do think we took a step in the right direction.
How, as a goalie, how nice is it to have guys like Chris Gray and Jeff Teat on your team, just having to see those shots in practice and not during the game?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it definitely helps me, right, having some of the best shooters in practice. Obviously, those goals, don't necessarily hurt as much in practice because, come game week, they're going to be going in on a different goalie. But, yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, those guys are awesome, and it's also nice, when you are in a game to be looking down at the other end and see those going in.
What have you learned, because you've been part of this Atlas team since the start of the PLL, and there aren't a lot of guys on this team left from that original squad. What have you learned about whether it's pro lacrosse, about building a team, how things have evolved over the course of the just first handful of years in the league?
Yeah, I think kind of, roll with the punches. There's a lot of changes that are made each year. You gain players, you lose players. And I think it's important to, again, if you have that core group, stick together, build a culture, which we've really, worked towards, and stay close, right? It's tough, right? You have your season where you're together every weekend, but the tough part is, right, because after the season, everybody goes back to their home state. And it's a challenge to stay connected. So I think it's super important, and something we've been focusing on is find a way, stay connected, keep that culture strong. Just keep working towards that common goal.
I've been lucky enough to be covering you since you were playing at Hofstra, and I remember like watching you play, especially after that big sophomore year you had, and going, man, this guy just looks like one of the best goalies in the country. And you got some national recognition, but I think there's still some people that don't pay as much attention because it's still Hofstra. It's not an ACC or Big Ten program. And then you come onto the professional stage, you're in a starting job in the first year in the PLL, and now people are taking notice. But for you, when did you feel like you had the confidence and the poise in your game? You're like, you know what? I can be one of the top 5, 6, 7 goalies in the world.
Yeah, I feel like college is one thing, right? You kind of, figure out and find success. But the professional stage is a whole different level. And for me, and I've said this before, that first year that I played in the MLL with the Florida launch, it was kind of a transition period. And it really helped me, right? It helps me kind of adjust to those shots, the speed of the game. And then obviously once the PLL was started, to get that starting nod and to play that first game, which was, I believe, against the Redwoods.
Yeah.
And to be able to go out there and perform and kind of slow things down and tell yourself, all right, I can do this. This is, the same as college once you kind of adjust. And then you just build from it, right? And you got to try and take a step each game. And that's kind of what I focused on.
You mentioned the transition to the pro game and like seeing some of these guys. What was like your welcome to professional lacrosse moment where you're like, I can't believe I'm seeing shots from this dude?
First off, it was cool to just be on the team with a guy like Scotty Rogers. That's a goalie that I grew up looking up to. So to be on a squad with him was super cool. And then, obviously offensive wise, that first year, God, we had so much power. Paul Rabel, that's the first thing that comes to mind, right? Another player that I grew up watching. And to just have him coming down, shooting on you, it's a pretty unbelievable experience. Yeah,
it's cool. And I still say it's like one of the coolest things about the pro game is you have these rookies that come in and now they're playing with guys that, especially for some guys now, it's like, oh, I watched you on Instagram or YouTube and doing all this stuff, and now we're sharing a field together, and it's a pretty cool moment. How have you changed as a goalie?
Yeah, and that's another one of the things where each year you kind of learn new things, and I think you kind of have to adjust as the game evolves. As a goalie, right, from that first year, I definitely picked up on some things that I had to kind of implement into my game to take that next step. And I've just tried to do that each year, right? You learn something. I feel like you learn something each game, right? And you kind of have to adjust. It's a forever evolving game, and the shooters are always getting better. So as a goalie, you kind of just have to pick up on these little things and kind of take a step each game, each year, just keep building.
Do you have a favorite guy right now that you've been facing the PLL you like to stop his shot the most?
I mean, I think one of the most challenging guys is Tom Schreiber, right? One of the best shooters, one of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
So to have him coming down on you, swooping across the middle, that's one that we've always kind of been battling. And I definitely, circle that matchup, again, out of respect for him because he's just an unbelievable player.
I will say, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there like a camaraderie between all the goalies in the league? Because like you guys are going up against these dudes, and it's not like I watch you and Blaze Reardon and like Kyle Bernlohr, some of the guys who are at the top of the game this year, and you make it look easy sometimes. Like, what's the bond like between other goalies in the league, knowing like, all right, we get what everybody else is going through in the league, and you guys are like a handful of guys in the entire world that can understand that?
Yeah, there's definitely a mutual respect because, again, there's not too many of us that are going out and doing it. So, obviously we respect what we're doing. And again, at the end of the day, it's like you're going out there, you're doing it. I know it's not easy. So if you're doing it, I respect you.
Well, I respect the game that you've put on here so far. Jack, we appreciate the time. Good luck as you get ready for another trip with Team USA. Get ready for the Fall Classic here in a couple of weeks. We'll catch up sometime soon.
Thanks for having me.
So as we look ahead to fall ball here in 2022, looking ahead to the spring of 2023, we've got Delaware head coach Ben Deluca joining us now. Coach, you guys are coming off such a great year a year ago, such a memorable season for this program. I wonder, now that you're back in the fall, how do you manage some of the expectations and everything around knowing you've got a lot back from a great team a year ago?
Yeah, well, the first thing that our staff did was we got together with our team and we made sure that we were starting new. We made sure that everyone understood that this is a new journey. It's a new group of guys. Although we return a good portion of the players that to let us to the season we had last year, we have a new freshman class and new chemistry that needs to start from the ground up. So we knew that there was going to be, some celebration and some recognition of the season that we had last year. And I think that's great. But at the same time, we have to understand that was last year. And only if we learn from it and allow the experiences to help us accelerate our growth this fall will it be beneficial for us. So we're doing a lot of conversation about culture building and team building and incorporating our new freshmen and newcomers to the program, but also setting the stage for this is a different journey. And, if anything, there's going to be a larger target on our backs and a little bit more of an awareness. We're not going to sneak up on anybody, not that we expected to do that last year either. But I think it's where we plan to be, where we hoped and planned to be in terms of our coaching staff when we set about building this team and working with this program. This is where we want to be. And our guys relish some of those expectations and understand that it's going to be a very difficult journey to get back to the postseason.
You obviously had been there at different points in your coaching career where you're coming off a run to a quarterfinal or a Final Four type of team. Obviously, it's new for the team, but I think every run is different. So what did you personally learn from that quarterfinal run last year that you take into this season?
Well, first of all, we have a good group of young men in the locker room that believe in what we're doing, that believe in each other. There's a genuine amount of care in the locker room and motivation to compete at the very highest level. But last year was anything but smooth. I think there was plenty of times throughout that season last year where we had to have some difficult conversations with our leaders and with our team in the locker room and on the practice field about what we were doing and how we were doing it. And, the lessons that we learned through adversity, dropping some difficult games early in the season, dropping some conference games and putting ourselves in a position where we really needed to put up or shut up, so to speak. And our guys responded to that and in rather dramatic fashion as well. Throughout the tail end of the regular season, very tight games as they tend to be in our conference. And then going into the conference tournament and into the NCAA tournament, I think we found our groove and we found a way to, play our best lacrosse towards the tail end of the season, which is what the goal is. So I'm excited about what we have returning. Our coaching staff has done a great job of resetting it for our guys, and our leaders know that there's some unfinished business that we're looking to take care of this season.
I'm glad you mentioned that it wasn't smooth. You guys everybody looks at the end of the year and it's like, oh, well, they had a great season. But like, it's very rare, especially in college athletics and in college lacrosse, that a team like Maryland, who people look at all year as the best team, ends up winning it. Like, you just look at the last 5-6 years, that very rarely happens. So I think that's a good reminder for everybody. The team that typically everybody's talking about usually isn't hoisting the trophy Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, it's a great point. We fought through some adversity early on in our season, and some games that didn't go our way, and we were able to learn from them, and some tight games that did go our way. I thought we matured a great deal, and that's a credit to our leadership and our upperclassmen. But we dropped our first 2 conference games and put ourselves really in a tough spot. And some of those conversations that we had with our captains and our leaders were difficult, but they understood what needed to happen. And you get a one goal win, a 2-goal win there to get yourselves to 3-2 in the conference heading into the tournament, a chance to be the top seed, which was really exciting for our guys as well. We just wanted a chance to continue to play. We talk about it all the time. Just you do your best to achieve the outcome that we're looking for, but buy into the process so that we have more time together. And there was some bumpy aspects to our path last year and some things that we'd like to have back. But I also think that those experiences paid off for us in the long run. The adversity that we faced early in the season and in conference play allowed us to be comfortable in those tight games, those games where maybe we're trailing, maybe we're winning, a tight game, or where other teams might feel like there's a lot of pressure or some buildup. Our guys were comfortable with that. And we tried to maintain that consistent mentality of not getting too high and not getting too low and playing for the entire 60 minutes. And those are lessons that we learned the hard way. That first conference game we played up at UMass, we played an outstanding first half and put ourselves in a position to command the game going into the second half. And credit to UMass, they come out and they play unbelievable. Their goalie stands on their head and it goes to overtime, and we end up dropping that game. And a game that we felt like we played pretty well for most of the game, but not the entirety of the game. And, those are the memories that our guys in our locker room will remember and will be burned inside their minds in preparation for what comes next. And, just doing whatever it takes to have a 1-goal differential in our favor at the end of the game is really important, especially in conference play.
There aren't a lot of coaches around the country that are fortunate enough to bring back like your entire starting attack unit, but you're one of the few. You got JP Ward back, along obviously with Ty Kurtz and Mike Robinson. We saw what they were capable of, especially when JP started to really excel toward the end of last season, fitting into that role that Charlie Kitchen had held for so long. I wonder now, when you have everybody back, like, is there a next level you feel like you can take it to, or are there different things you start to work on in the spring that are different than when you have to figure out the chemistry and everything from a year prior when there's new pieces?
Sure. There's definitely a foundation to build on. There's a relationship and chemistry there that was built over the course of the last couple seasons. I mean, you can go back to even when Charlie Kitchen was with our team and JP was his understudy, so to speak. The work that he did in practice and things that he learned, are starting to pay off. But having those 3 guys return, great chemistry, great communication, great leadership. I think Robinson and Kurtz were a little bit more of the known commodities as opposed to JP Ward, but JP Ward burst onto the scene, and again, to no surprise for us and our coaching staff, knowing how much work he puts in and how much time he's here in the facility working on every aspect of his craft. But to see him take on the number 1 defender and to build chemistry with, Mike on the left side and Ty on the right side. Some games it was the Mike Robinson show and he was lights out, and some games it was Ty Kurtz's time to shine. And almost every game, JP was, producing and maybe not getting the headlines or the accolades that he deserved, but he led our team in points, and that's saying a lot with some guys that we have here. And it really is just a credit to his work ethic, his determination, toughness. The kid was battling injury throughout the year as well. But really excited about the chemistry that those three have, and how hopefully it will be able to spread to the rest of our offensive unit and the rest of our team.
On the defensive end, the guy that obviously I think everybody nationally now knows is Owen Grant, and deservedly so. He has been terrific over the last couple of years. Two-time reigning CAA Defensive Player of the Year. He was just the 3rd overall pick in the Nll Draft indoors. But knowing you and knowing him in terms of wanting to get better, I'm sure he's not done. What's that next level that you guys talk about here in the fall to get ready for the spring here in another run?
Yes, the sky's the limit for Owen. We were just hoping that the light would go off for him and he would put it all together, because we believe he's got all the ability to be an elite level player, one of the best, if not the best in the country at his position. And what he's done is grown immensely in his mindset and his maturity over his time with us. And this year, he knows, as in his final year, his leadership is going to be critical. Like you mentioned, he's a known commodity, and we just continue to place more and more on his shoulders, from covering the other team's best player, whether he's an attackman or a midfielder, taking wings of faceoffs, sparking transition from defense to offense. He's an elite level player, and we're asking him to step his game up, and we're asking everyone around him to do the same. Kevin Lynch has been an integral part of our defensive unit down there as a captain with his leadership, and having Tate Wasson come back healthy at the end of the last season really allowed us some versatility. Jay Sider as a defensive midfielder, those guys have been critical to bringing everyone along with them. Owen obviously as the headliner, but we're excited about the steps that he can take and that we can take with him.
I mentioned Owen being one of 3 NLL draft picks for you in this past month's draft. What did that mean for you guys as a program?
Oh, what great recognition. Great recognition for those young men. And each of them had a career dream of, competing and growing and trying to earn an opportunity to play professional in the NLL. Owen at 3 and Ty at 17 and Jake Govett going to play in San Diego is just so exciting for our program. But we're so proud of those young men for the work that they've put in and the opportunities that they earned themselves. And hopefully it's a sign of things that are happening within our program. And I know there's a lot of excitement around our program with our alumni as well as recruiting, in terms of the opportunity to come here and compete at a very high level and have an opportunity to play at the next level after you graduate as well.
So let's bring this full circle here to finish this thing up, because we started talking about what you guys did a year ago in the quarterfinal run. And I know this is new in terms of this year, and you got to kind of put last year behind you. But I have to imagine there's got to be this great momentum, whether it was on the recruiting trail this summer or hearing from alumni, because I think the last time we talked about this was before that quarterfinal game against Cornell. So what have you felt around the program, whether it's from alumni or people at the school, throughout these last several months since you guys made that NCAA tournament run, that really feels like great momentum for the program?
Yeah, so much excitement from our alumni base, which is one of the most loyal and enthusiastic, supportive groups that I've had the good fortune of being around. And this is what they're looking for. Everyone affiliated with the Delaware Lacrosse program is looking for a program that's going to compete at the highest level, compete within our conference and compete nationally, and bring recognition to our university, to our great school here. And it's not just us. The football program's having a great season this fall. The men's and women's basketball teams both went to the NCAA tournament last winter as well. So, there's a lot of exciting things happen here around Delaware, and we're very fortunate to be a part of it, and excited to lead the charge and be a part of Team Delaware.
Yeah, good stuff for the football team. I mean, Joe Flacco was starting early in the season for the Jets. Our buddy Evan Washburn, you got to get him wearing a Delaware shirt on the sidelines. You guys got good stuff going in the fall.
Yeah, we're hoping to keep it rolling. You're right, though. It's nationwide, it's worldwide. Blue Hen Nation is extremely powerful, and excited about what's happening here. And all credit to Christy Raywalk, our athletic director and president of Asanas, the vision that they've had from the very beginning, starting to bear fruit here, and we're excited to be in it.
Well, we can't wait to see you guys hit the field here in the spring. Coach, good luck with everything in the fall. Keep everybody healthy, and we can't wait to catch up again when we get closer to the season, all right?
Travis, really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
So as we get ready for the World Lacrosse Super Sixes event in Canada this weekend, we have Sean Williams, who's the head coach for Team Canada, joining us now. Sean, Sixes lacrosse, what's been your feel for it so far and the limited amount of real competitive play we've seen so far?
No, it's just awesome to watch how fast paced it is, and that's obviously for most Canadians growing up and with the box experience, it's exciting for that. But I thought it was a great show watching the World Games there, both the men's and women's side. It was great lacrosse, lots of fantastic goals, some great D, some awesome goalie saves. It's got everything, and it just doesn't stop.
You mentioned the World Games, and what a special event it was for Canada lacrosse. What did this summer mean for Canada lacrosse as a whole, bringing home not one but 2 golds in the World Games? I
was just obviously, as a fan, great to see, and actually getting the, knowing some of the players out there. It was great for them and great to see them come together and play some great lacrosse. And it's hopefully for bigger things to come. I think it was especially special on the women's side, knowing like at that senior level, this is gold medal number 1 for that Canadian women's team. What did this summer mean on the women's side of things for the Federation? Well, I think it was amazing, and obviously, it is our first gold, but also like how they showed in the World Cup as well. It was just a fantastic summer for all the ladies, and I think it's very big signs of things to come as we were talking about earlier, our player pool just keeps growing, and with the number of athletes playing NCAA, it's just it's helping us become a more well-rounded team. Yeah, we mentioned it before we got going here. This roster you have this weekend, some players that had experience at the World Cup and the World Games, and also some younger new faces that we're going to have a chance to see. What was the strategy there in building this Sixes roster for this event? I think, to be honest, it's a little bit of everything. You kind of want to. It'd be nice to have everybody back, and also, some of the ladies couldn't make it for various reasons. And I think the way Tammy Rayner built it was just like, okay, let's have a little bit of veteran leadership there and mix in some of our younger girls. And I'm sure there was a few girls that couldn't make it, but the girls that are here are all well deserved, and we're excited to get going. What's the significance and the importance of Canada having a chance to host both England and the Haudenosaunee in this event, obviously in the type of event that World Lacrosse hopes will get the sport in the Olympics? Oh, it's an honor. This is actually right in our backyard. We're just east of Toronto, and the Lacrosse Canada, it's been put into overdrive, and we're trying to, whether we're trying to match or over pursue what Team USA Lacrosse is doing down south, they're a great model to kind of follow, and we're taking steps to kind of get there. Tactically with Sixes, obviously you have such a terrific box background, and I think we saw a little bit of box strategy in what Canada did in the World Games with this. What kind of tactics in terms of box tactics were used, did you see in this version of the sport in Sixes? Yeah, I think it's a lot of lots of extra ball movement, moving off ball. There's just the constant pace is what we grew up with in the box. So I think, and taking advantage of transition when you can, and I think the ladies did a great job of exposing that at times, and just that constant keep going and don't stop, and don't rest. It was awesome to watch. As a coach, like when you put your coach hat on, how intriguing is it to have just a completely new version of the sport to be able to kind of create new tactics for, new strategy, when like that, not many people in any sport get that opportunity, but I think that's what every coach around the world is seeing now, is you get a completely new version of the sport. No one's really seen it yet competitively, so it's like a brand new whiteboard. It's all clean slate. Absolutely, and that's such a cool thing for us. And you want to try this from box, and you try this from field, and it's finding that right mix, and it's also finding the right balance with the players you got, and coming together so quickly, and just getting that feeling out phase as quickly done as possible, and then moving on, and then adding or subtracting some of our strategies that we want to see.
Well, speaking of excitement, you obviously have an exciting new chapter you're about to start writing in the NLL as the head coach of the Las Vegas Desert Dogs. Before we let you go, I want to just ask, what's the excitement level year one of this organization? You're the head coach and GM, getting ready to dive into what should be a fun season.
Oh, it's been amazing. The Las Vegas community is in the state of Nevada fully behind this. We got lots of season tickets happening, and now our home openers just being put on sale. So it's like the motto said, we're coming in hot, and we're still coming in hot, and it's going to be a fantastic ride.
When you go in putting together a roster and expansion team and trying to figure out how it's all going to gel together, like what kind of strategically have you tried to figure out of, all right, how do we not only put together a team that's going to be competitive, but hopefully we can win some games right off the bat?
Absolutely. And that was it's obviously it's a lot easier said than done. And even though we have it on paper and we feel like we're in a good spot, it's just, we still gotta play the games. Our biggest thing was just, building character, having character in the room, some leadership, but character, not only on the floor, but, guys willing to come in and treat Vegas like it's their second home, and getting as many guys as we can to move down there. I think it's important to be part of the community. And, and on top of that, get some talented lacrosse players as well with it to, like you said, just hopefully put some wins together.
Yeah, I will say, I can't imagine it's difficult to convince players like, hey, you know what? Second home Las Vegas doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, it's that's what we're hoping for, and it seems to be going the right way.
What's it been like to have that ownership group behind it? Obviously, everybody's seen the names, whether it's obviously Joe Tsai and Wayne Gretzky and Dustin Johnson. How cool is it to have that group of people behind something that you're now going to have a chance to help run?
Oh, it's been amazing. And, it's obviously with the power they have and the names they are, it opens a lot of doors. Now it's up to us to keep those doors open and open up some more that, are kind of on the outskirts and said, okay, I see that, but let's see what this is all about as it comes to the season. And then once we get that season started, we can, like I said, keep those doors open and open up some more for us.
Well, excited to see you guys hit the ground running indoors, and can't wait to see you guys in Canada, the women's team here in the Super Sixes on LSN this weekend. Sean, we appreciate the time. Good luck this weekend, and good luck as you kick off this NLL season.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Good to hear from Sean, and we can't wait to broadcast those Super Sixes games this weekend on LSN. All starts Friday night. Keep locked into the @Lax Sports Net Twitter account and on Instagram. Keep you up to date on the schedule. But Canada playing a couple of times on Friday night. They also have a game Saturday, and we likely will see them again on Sunday. Of course, the reigning gold medalist in the World Games, so the team that was the best in the World Games in this discipline at Sixes, will be on display this weekend right here on Lax Sports Network. I'm lucky enough to be on the call for those games coming to you from Canada. So we're going to have a lot of fun this weekend. We hope that you will join us for those games, and we hope you will join us next week here on Lacrosse Now. But for now, that's all the time we got. Travis Eldridge saying so long. We'll see you next week.